Welcome to Mama Tales, a podcast that celebrates our collective motherhood journey. I'm your host, Sally Kuria. If this is your first time listening, welcome. It's lovely to have you here. If you haven't already, make sure to follow and engage with this podcast on Instagram and TikTok at Mama Tales Podcast. And do make sure to subscribe to the newsletter. New issues go out every other week and feature personal essays on things that matter to us and some nuggets from the podcast and the community around it. Actually, I'm looking for contributors to the newsletter. So if you have a thought piece that you'd like to share, hit me up in my DMs or reply to a recent issue. I'd love to have you on there. Oh, we're also on YouTube. I'm really having a lot of fun with that channel and I'm approaching it a little differently. Yes, there are a few podcast episodes there. Some are audio while others are full-on video podcasts. But I have been putting up some personal vlogs as well that show you the behind the scenes of this podcast and everything in between. So please check it out whenever you can. Let me know what you think. Just search for Mama Tales Podcast or click in the link in the show notes of this episode. In this week's episode, we will listen to Michelle's story, a mom of two who is working hard to have it all. Listen to this.
I always wanted to be a mom, and I always wanted to be a CEO. Those are the two things for certain. Doesn't matter what's it called. Doesn't matter what industry. Doesn't matter what profession. That was always the goal. Have my two kids. Have my CEO. That was it. That's all I've ever wanted. Like everything else is a by the way. Those are just the two things that I've always ever wanted. Then here we are, pregnant at 20 something. Okay, pregnant at 23, right?
It's that time for the highlight of the week, and I have to say I'm really loving this segment because it's forcing me to look back and reflect on moments that brought me joy. Something that is very easy to forget when you're focused on the day's mundane tasks. This week's highlight is brought to you by Codris Africa, the easiest way for your kids to learn how to code. Learn more about Codris Africa through the link in the show notes of this episode. My highlight this week has to be the fact that my kids are finally old enough to be left with their grandparents for days. It's my birthday weekend. Well, by the time you listen to this, it will have already passed. But my husband and I have taken some time away to celebrate that and other amazing milestones we've achieved this year. We are in Cape Town, South Africa, and it is so beautiful. We thought the kids would also love a change of environment, so we decided to take them to their grandparents before we came. And they're so excited. Well, at least my daughter is. I can't really tell what my 1-year-old son thinks about it. We had a call with them recently, and all my daughter could talk about was seeing how the cows were eating and watching them get milked. It's just so wholesome. My job this week is to try and not think about them too much. This will be the longest we would have been away from each other, but I know they're well taken care of and they're really having fun. So I also just need to focus on relaxing and enjoying the sights of Cape Town. Remember, you too can share your highlights. Just send me a voice note or a DM on Insta and have it on the podcast. One thing that we can all agree on is that we want to become the perfect mom. The mom who can do it all. The one who has a bustling, successful career. The mom who helps her kids with their homework. The mom who attends all the parent-teacher conferences, sports days, closing days. The one who is there to tuck them in at night. We want to be our kids' best friend and the firm but gentle figure in their life. We want to be a role model to them, to show them that they too can conquer this world and everything that is in it. I know I've held this dream. It's one of the reasons I quit my full-time job and embarked on a journey to find a career that will afford me time to be all of these things. The reality has been a little bit different. Michelle's idea of motherhood has largely been shaped by her own mom, a single mother who tried her best to provide for them. Despite all her mother's efforts, they did not have a lot growing up. And this is something that lit a fire under Michelle. She feels the need to work as hard as she can, to provide a life for her kids that is better than what she had.
Now I remember like what she used to do was that she used to tell us to write a list. All like a wish list, but a physical one of all the things we would want to get when we have money. And I've never forgotten it. And it's something I want to pass down to my kids because my kids have no concept of luck, which is great, but still, but there's a different side of that. So it's just that one, as in looking forward I think that's also helped me because like when I decide I want something, I usually just write it down and then I work towards it. So I think that's something I can credit to her. 'Cause she's just tell us if you want, just write it down, write a list, and then one day we'll go through your list and we'll get what you want. And I'm just like, hmm. So it teaches you like to look forward to something. It teaches you to have a goal and it teaches you to work towards your goal. And that's something that I want to pass down to my kids. I'm reevaluating what my end goal from parenting is still the same. Like what I wanted even when I was 10, it's still what I want now. Just that the approach is different. Because like I'm a very intentional parent, right? I'm gentle parent, all of that. I grew up with gentle parenting. So for me it's not new. Like my mom always talked to us. Of course, we were beaten once or twice, but literally we can count the number of times we were beaten, and even you felt like, okay, yeah, today is the day. So discipline and parenting for me really comes from her. Now the only thing that now I haven't learned from her, and it's because of she was a single mom, she didn't have work, so there was that. Is now the money aspect, which is now why I feel like now it's like what's that thing called? Cognitive dissonance, right? Like my mom was there. My mom was able to teach us. My mom was able to be there for us literally at any given point. I always, even now, I can always count on my mom to show up. I can call my mom and she will be here. No doubt about it. Now that's the thing that I'm struggling with because now for my kids, I have to work, right? So like when I miss, because I think for my son, I've only ever attended a closing day once, and that kills me. It really does. But I have to work and I don't work in a flexible environment. I'm so young that I haven't reached that executive level that I want to. I'm like, I'm coming to the office at 9. No, you know,
So by 21, Michelle started working. Her goal was to be a CEO by 30, so she put everything she had behind achieving this goal. But at 23, a big change would come her way and would potentially threaten this goal. As someone who's very in tune with her body, she knew something was happening to her as soon as a week or two after her period. She took pregnancy tests week after week, and on the fifth week, she finally saw the two lines.
I felt like a teenage pregnancy person. I felt like my life was over. um, I had just started working, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, my life is over. What am I going to do? I don't have nearly enough money. I was like, I don't have money. Then, no, this is when you try to talk to yourself, but you're like, because I'm like, I feel like I'm way too young to be a mom. And like, for me, I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but for me, the motherhood, like the mothering part of the motherhood for me, that one, is like, I have it down pat. I like kids. I'm great with kids. I've always wanted kids. Great. But I know what it takes to be a mom and I know what it takes to be the kind of mom I've always wanted to be. And now is not the time. Work was crazy. Work was crazy. At the time, it was extremely crazy. I had no time. The environment we were working in was like toxic. And I always used to say, this is a problem of what we used to say. Sometimes you really need to watch what you say. I always used to say, I would never have a child in this place because you take that toxicity and it has to go somewhere. You obviously can't shout at your boss, so where will it go? You know, you'll be coming home and you'll be negative and creating a horrible environment, and it's not what I want for my kids. But then you just started working, so you're not actually you're not even making money. Let's be honest, you're not making money. So yeah, you're not really making money. Then I'm like, oh my gosh, how are we going to afford actually do the kind of life that I wanted to give my kids? So I'm sitting down and I'm just like, makes no sense. So I started Googling. I'm like, teenage pregnancies, how to tell your parents, what to do about it. So at the end of the day, I went. That time we weren't living together because the relationship was relatively new. So I went to the house. Oh, I found out really early. I found out because we used to go to the office at like 7:30. So I found out around 9. Uh-huh. I ordered a coffee. I sat down at my desk with my teen mom. I read. I watched all the YouTube videos. That day I saw. I don't think I did any work. I read all the YouTube videos, everything, and I was like, ha. So at the end of the day, I sat. I waited. We used to have a call like every day at the end of the day. So, the dating stage where you call each other. So at that day, I was like, okay, so here's the situation, right? And and for him, he was very calm. He was like, oh no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Da, da, da. And in my head, I'm thinking, we're literally almost the same age. What do you mean? Don't worry about it. How are you going to afford childcare? How are you going to afford the hospital? Do you know how much diapers cost? But I didn't say that. I was like, let me just keep that to myself. Because it's like, oh, I understand you're freaked out. I'm like, aren't you? It's like, no, it's okay. It's gonna be fine. And that's how you know. This week I read that literally opposites attract. I am very neurotic even. I'm very type A. I'm very this, and we have to do A, B, C, D, and this, and we're from 8 to 10 and 9 to this and this. Everything has to go, like everything in my head is planned. Him is just like, yeah, today we woke up. I didn't feel like going to work. I did. Must be. For me, it's like if I say, even if I'm dying and I said I'm going to take the kids to the park, I will wake up with my death and take the kids to the park because that's that's who I am. So him is just like, it's life. And I'm just like, what do you mean it's life? What is wrong with you? I just never understood like how can people live like this? I don't have like I have a lot of because I'm very good at compartmentalizing, but one thing that I think I want to build up in the next couple of years is a nothing box. So one thing I don't have. I say I want to build a nothing box, and then I sit down and start meditating, and I'm like, huh. So if I have nothing, because these days I'm better at delegating. I think second kids do that to you. I'm better at delegating, so maybe I can have like a few like 20 minutes when the nanny is like, "Oh, just rest because you just come." I'm like, okay. So now I have my 20 minutes. I'm like, let me meditate today, and I'm like, quiet, quiet, and then I think about it, and I'm like, huh. So the kids are gonna outgrow their clothes in the next 2 weeks. So let me buy da 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 da. Like my son is showing interest in swimming. So do I take him for classes? Let me Google which one is the nearest. Do we do heated or not heated? And I'm like, oh, my daughter is showing an interest in like technology. I'm like, but she's 4 months. What am I going to teach her about technology? Let me search. So that's going through my head. And then when I'm like, okay, I've thought about too much about the kids. Let me relax. And I sit down. I'm like, there's this thing at work that I saw. I need to make such an interesting presentation. Let me think about it. Let me do some research about it. So my head literally never keeps quiet.
Doesn't it get exhausting, or don't you feel like you might be fueled by anxiety?
I do, but then I don't. I feel like no one can like. I, and I think that's a problem from my end. I don't feel like people can. I feel like if it's not done, then if I don't do it, then it won't be done. Yeah, so that's usually like the problem. Like I'm trying to let go of a couple of things, and I have. So like at work these days, I'm, in my opinion, better, right? Because I'm just like, and maybe it's a wrong approach to take, but I'm like, you're not paying me enough for this. So no, my first pregnancy is very different from my second pregnancy in the sense that I think I didn't accept that I was pregnant. One benefit of that is that as I read about it, I think not this week, I've always known, but I decided to start actually reading about it. There's this thing called um, obsessive compulsive behavior is it personality disorder, right? So it's not really OCD, not the neurotic one where you have to like clean the fridge 7 times and turn off the no, but it's a personality disorder in a sense that you're too anxious and you have to make sure everything falls in your control. And I learned that it happens, especially apparently it happens to a lot of moms, right? And like I think naturally I've always been that way because I don't drink because I've never drunk because I'm just like, what if I lose control? I don't go out because I'm like, that feels like it's too much for me. One, because I'm an introvert, but two, I, that situation just seems there's too many variables and I'm not comfortable with that. Um, I don't like painkillers because I feel like what if I get addicted and I can't stop? And then I start saying, how do you know in America the number of people who are addicted to prescription pills? Yeah, that can't be me. So you see, there's already that level of I don't know what to call it. I don't know. But yeah, I always have this like fears and stuff. And maybe they might be based on something I don't know. Maybe I could be, I don't know, and I've never tried it to know that for fact this is the issue. But I'm not gonna try it because um the if that is true, if my thoughts are actually true, then no. I would never want to not be in control. So with my son, I decided that I didn't decide really. I just went about my life, right? It was like pregnant, not pregnant. let's wait and see. I was really anxious about it. I won't like deep in my mind, I was like, I was anxious because I read a lot. And as according to my mother, I am a pessimist. So I tend to get the negative side of things. Maybe I see the positive, but I tend to focus on the negative side of things. So I read all these things and I'm reading about chromosomes and things, and the baby's not attaching, and so I'm just like, whoa, what if I get attached to this baby and then this baby doesn't stick? You know, like I'm a 20 something year old, that doesn't happen, as in it's not likely in the percentage wise. So, those are like, that's the thought process in my head. So I'm at work and I'm in a meeting, but in my head, I'm just like, what is the percentage of miscarriage rate? And I'm like, I'm 20 something, so not really high, but they have happened. I'm like, why have they happened? Have there been, so those are the things that are going through my head. And I'm like, maybe I need to just relax and go with the flow. So even my mom was like, sorry, I know I felt like this. So I knew I was pregnant, took the test, came back positive. This was when I was pregnant in November. So in December, so again, not, I'm like, I know I'm pregnant, but I'm just like, let's wait and see, right? So in December, I started having pains in my stomach. Then I went to a hospital at the time. I was living at home, so I just left home. I went to the hospital, and then I was like, I'm pregnant, and I'm feeling a lot of like cramping and a lot of like pain. What's happening? So they recommended me for an ultrasound or something. Then I had to go home because I was like, if something is wrong, and my mom was in the house, she's going to kill me. So I went and I was like, so we need to talk. There's good news and there's bad news. So good news is I'm pregnant. Bad news is I might be losing the pregnancy. My mom looks at me. Actually, my mom has been through a lot. My mom, and I told you my mom is a hopeless, hopeless optimist. So my mom's like, first of all, where's the good news? And secondly, how can you say that? And I'm like, but that's what the doctor said. I was like, no, let's go to another hospital. So we got to Nairobi hospital. I remember it was Christmas Eve. I remember it very vividly. So it was Christmas Eve, and we went, and they did it. I went to a different hospital first, and when I went, they couldn't find the the embryo. Again, like I said, the pregnancy was very new, so they couldn't find it. So they were like, they did the test, like, we can see you're pregnant, but we cannot locate that embryo. So it could be ectopic, and if it's ectopic, we have to do a surgery to remove it. So that's what I told my mom. And just freaking out, she's like, how can you say that? I'm like, but that's what the hospital said. I mean, it's facts. Can we deal with the facts? And then we'll deal with the emotional thing after we've dealt with the facts. She's like, no. So we went to now Nairobi hospital. So they did the same thing. But then they decided to do the other one called the vaginal one. Yeah. So finally they were able to locate the embryo. But they were like, it's so small, probably why you couldn't be able to see it. So then you felt the heartbeat, and I was like, that was the first time, and I was like, oh, actually like a person because I felt that. But now, because of that and that situation where it's scary, and at the time, I think my partner was with his family for Christmas. They had traveled, so he wasn't around. So already I'm alone. I'm not really alone, but the first time when I went to hospital, I went alone before my mom said, let's go get a second opinion. So I'm alone. I'm over here with a pregnancy that, quote unquote, I wasn't ready for. So I felt guilty because I felt like I wasn't ready for it. And now it's ectopic. Maybe it's like I'm being punished, you know, I'm being punished because I wasn't ready. That's what I was feeling. So during the entire pregnancy, I had those thoughts of maybe it won't take, maybe it won't take, maybe it won't take. Because it didn't really allow me to enjoy the whole pregnancy thing. And then work in itself was crazy. But the one thing, I thank God for my planning. It might be neurotic, but when I found out I was pregnant, the first thing I did was I went and spoke to my boss. Obviously, didn't tell him I was pregnant. I went and talked to my boss and I told him I am not, because we were having like a conflict because I didn't want to be an executive assistant because I was like, I'm only 20 something. I'm not being, where am I going from here? And everyone was like, you just started working. Why are you thinking about where you're going? I'm like, but you have to think about the end goal. And it's just not. So we were having, because he was like, you need to do this job first and then you can see about where you go. But I was like, I don't see where else to go. I'm already executive assistant. What else? Anything else would be a downgrade, you know? You can't be handling board meetings and staff meetings and looking at budgets and then now I'm what? Admin. No offense to admin. No. So we were having, yeah. So we were having that like fight, that conflict. When I found out, I went and I was like, I agree with you. And I think it's time that I switch to a different department. So now nothing. And then, thank God for first time pregnancy and thank God for being young, because that time you're skinny. You're so skinny. So the pregnancy doesn't show until like, I think I started showing at like 25 weeks. And at that time, everyone was just like, you gained a bit of weight. No one can really tell that there's actually a person, because you're over there with your clothes, you're over there with your shields, nothing has changed really. And for me, nothing has changed because there's nothing out of the ordinary. I don't go out, I don't drink, nothing has changed. I'm largely a vegetarian. Yeah, I don't have mood swings any. Everything just goes on the way it used to. So you really couldn't tell that something is happening at the time. The only thing I think that was giving it away was my partner started being a bit weird. We used to work at the same place. So my partner starts being like, don't you think you need to rest? And I'm like, excuse me, can you go back to can you yeah, go like go away. And then we started living together. And then this one time, and I really hated him for it. This one time he's like, mi natoka na naenda unakuja ama ukuji? And I was like, first of all, this is like private. Secondly, can you calm down? Thirdly, what the hell, man? So then at around 20 weeks, something happened and I was feeling out of peace. Then I was like, I think I started having discharge, like a lot of discharge, and I started cramping. And I was like something. Like I said, and I always know my body. So I was like, it's not okay. And then that time my phone was dying. So I called my mom and I told her I'm feeling really bad. I have to go to the hospital. And my mom was with me during the first time when we were told it's ectopic. So we're not really out of the woods yet. So now when this happens, and then so I told my partner, so everyone was speaking, and then my phone died. So now when I go to the hospital, and they do the checks and everything. Then we found out that like the baby wanted to come out. So I had to be given, I think they're called progesterone pills, so that the baby can stay in. And then that's when I was like, things need to change. I think that's what kicked the neuroticness into overdrive, but then I was like, things really need to change. Things need to change. So like after that, I used to go for an ultrasound every month and pay out of pocket with my with my assistant salary, with my peanuts every month, because I just wanted to know the baby's still there.
So you're saying a lot of things change, right? And I can imagine in your entire journey, you have found yourself in places where your ideals are being challenged, right? So maybe you can take us to a couple of those moments and how you've figured out how to manage them, if you have, or if there's just some that you really can't fix or control.
So I've always wanted, my dream has always been to be like a CEO by the time I was 30. So the one thing, when I got pregnant, that was the one thing that I was like, this is, I knew it had to go, but that's the one thing I held on to for a long time. Because it's like, I cannot be the parent I want to be. And me, I have no issue with anyone who chooses, because me, I want to be very involved. I want to do bath time. I want to feed my kids. I want to do the mundane things, and I want to wake up with you and let's go play outside. I want to. I don't feel like I have to, but that's what I want to do that. And with the kind of drive and ambition that I have, that the two don't align, right? I can't be that mom and be that career person. Not at the same time anyway. So the first thing, and it really irritated me, the first thing was that I had to take a step back. But then remember, there's a cognitive dissonance, because it's like my body is like, this, it's not agreeing, because this is everything you wanted ever since you've been a child. I always wanted to be a mom, and I always wanted to be a CEO. Those are the two things for certain. Doesn't matter what's it called, doesn't matter what industry, doesn't matter what profession, that was always the goal. Have my two kids, have my CEO. That was it. That's all I've ever wanted. Like everything else is a by the way. Those are just the two things that I've always ever wanted. And here we are, pregnant at 20 something. Okay, pregnant at 23, right? So pregnant at 23. I started working. Of course, there's those like internships and everything, but I started working at 21. So I started working at 21, like barely 2 years in, pregnant. Okay. So eventually made any headway career wise, right? The worst part is I actually used to look down on being an executive assistant because I was like, what is this? Where does it take me? Is it's not like good enough. It's good enough for now, but so we're back at it. Me and my 23-year-old pregnant self, with my peanuts, going to an expensive hospital with bad insurance. So, so majority of it is like out of pocket. And but then I'm having a child. I'm having a child. We're moving to we're moving to a place that seemed a bit. In hindsight, maybe we would have moved to a cheaper place, but at the time, you're like, I want my kids to have the best, and I don't regret it at all, but it was putting a strain because we're not taking time to appreciate. I'm a 23-year-old, you're a 24-year-old. Can we just relax? You know, it's okay not to live here. It's okay not to have this. But did I believe that? Absolutely not. I was like, no, we need to push ourselves. We need to get this. We need to, we need to work harder. You're looking for jobs. Me, I'm looking for jobs. you know, then we got to a point where I'm like, I'm 7 months pregnant. No one is going to hire me. So let's just relax. Let's go with the flow. So then now my son was born.
One thing I was curious about was how motherhood would fit into Michelle's life. She says she has a type A personality, prone to be highly organized, competitive, impatient, and an affinity to a fast paced environment. Pregnancy and motherhood is unpredictable. It brings uncertainty with it, with a touch of chaos. I couldn't help but feel worried about how Michelle would handle this.
I've always wanted kids. So I love that. I love that they're unpredictable. I think that's something that I think because I knew what it meant to be a mom. I knew what it meant to have kids. That has never really been, and you would think so, but because that's the nature of children. Children are unpredictable. They are quote unquote chaotic. They are messy. But that's who they are, and that's what they're supposed to be. So for me, that has never been like it's actually never been a problem because that's what I expect of them. I don't expect to have a child who sits at the table with a cloth and and a tie, and I don't. So with them, and that's what my partner was saying. My partner was saying I'm being very unfair because even expectations I have of him versus expectations I have of my kids is very different. Because he's saying there's nothing my son would do that would make me be mad at them. I'm like, yeah, because they're kids. I mean, obviously they're supposed to, like he's supposed to be annoyed. He's supposed to have a tantrum. It's okay. Because even how I handle my son, you would never tell I'm the same person. Like even at work, I'm just like, sometimes when someone makes a mistake, I'm like, how can you do something that's stupid? I wouldn't say that in a previous forum, I would, but I said that this was toxic enough. But now in my head, I just thinking like, can you not read like what's wrong with you? Like, do you not know how to work? I will think it. I will not say it. But I would have said it a while back because that's how we used to talk to each other, and that was the nature of the business. But now, with my son, it's just like, no, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay. You want to write the wall? Let's write the wall together, and then let's clean up thereafter. Like, yeah, it's as in it's expected. Like, what else was I saying? Because my partner keeps saying, "Oh, this TV they're gonna break," and I'm like, "It's okay." He says, "It's not okay." I'm like, "But they're going to do stuff like that. They're gonna break glasses. They're gonna, The other day he spoiled my laptop, and I'm like, it's okay. He spoiled his tablet countless times, and I'm like, it's okay. It's not that he went and threw it on the floor. Yeah, he didn't go and throw it on the floor.
So you allow for that quote unquote chaos with your kids, but everything else needs to be spick and span. Do you feel like there's something that, in as much as you're holding everything together, that is slipping through the cracks?
So, the one thing that I think for me has really struggled is the partnership. I think like right now we're going through a phase. We'll see how that happens. But for me, because like in terms of priority, like I said, I'm a very neurotic type A person. So there's a ladder whether I want to, and me, I made peace with that. There's a ladder, and the ladder becomes first priority is the kids. Then after the kids, immediately comes career. Then after career, then comes home. Then after home comes finances. Then after finances, maybe me, and then maybe me, my partner somewhere there. So as we're at the bottom, which I'm sure it's not supposed to be like that, but that's how it is for now, and I'm okay with that. So first it's the kids, right? So are their needs being met? Are they happy? Are they healthy? Do they have a healthy emotional attachment? Am I making time for them? Is my partner making time for them? Are we taking time off of things to just sit with them and just chill? Don't have to have activities. That's something that I've learned with my second child. I don't have to always put you into activities and stuff. Just sometimes it's like, do you just want us to just sit? Do you just want us to just play on the floor? You know, as in, what do you want us? And remember, my kids have reflux, and that's out of my control, and they always do. So we need to be like working as a team. You need, when I'm with the baby, you need to be with my son. When I'm with the son, you need to take care of the baby so that they don't feel a gap in parenting. And like I usually say, the kids never asked to be here. Okay, we brought them here. Whether they would exist in a different life or not, they never asked to be here. So there's no point where we should bring them and then make them quote unquote suffer, use lack of better word. So that's, for me, that's how it is. And then good health makes a big difference. Makes a very big difference, because then you're like, I need to go to work. And when I need to go to work, and that's why I'm very specific about my timings. I'm like, and I go to work and I'm like, me, I'm leaving at 5. Okay. Maybe earlier, but never later. If you want something, you can email me. I will get back to it. And that's something that I never had with my first one. I think also age makes a very big difference, because when now, imagine as a 23-year-old being like, I'm leaving at 4. Yeah, I'm leaving this office at 4, and that's a hard stance. You know, what ground do you have to stand on? You know,
Take us through a day in your life from morning to the end of the day.
let's start. My day starts at around 5. I breastfeed my daughter at 5. Then I wake up at 5:30 to take a shower. Then I pump milk at 6. Then I leave at around between 6 and 6:30 is when I leave the house, to make sure I get to the office at around 7:58, give or take, because of traffic. And now from 8, um, I'll work. I usually express milk at around 4 hours, so I express milk at 6. So I'll express milk again at 9:30 for 30 minutes, then go back to work, have lunch, express milk again at 2:30, then leave, because I talked to my office to leave earlier, because I was like, you know, age, you're like, listen here, I have a baby. You guys don't have flexi hour. I need to express milk, so I need to leave. Yeah, I want, and you can request not to. That's okay, but I have to ask. So how early can I leave? So like, you can have an hour. Like, thank you. So I leave at 4. Make sure I get to the house around 5:30. Then get to the house, breastfeed her again. Then play with my son. Play with my daughter, because usually I wake up at time. Play with both of them. Then we do bath time. My son showers at 6. My daughter showers at 6:30. Then feed them, play with them. Start putting my daughter to sleep at 7. I think I need to get a charger. 1 second.
After 7, her daughter sleeps, but not for too long, maybe 30 minutes, and would stay awake until 1 a.m. As she waits for her daughter to sleep, she will tuck in her son, maybe catch up on some work, and fall asleep with her daughter, who will probably wake up again maybe a few times before morning. By 5 a.m., Michelle wakes up and is off to work to start the cycle again. It sounds exhausting, but she chooses to see this as quality time spent with her little ones, because they will grow older and she will just get busier. At the end of our conversation, I asked her if there was something that drives her in her parenting journey, and this is what she had to say.
Yeah, I just feel like it's very important to say that motherhood is subjective, and no matter, like, I think our problem is we usually like to compare ourselves with other people, and that's not fair, right? Because already I'm comparing myself against my ideals, and I'm finding that it's like a hard goal to meet, and I can't imagine if I stopped and started comparing myself to so and so and so and so, and they're like, oh, look at this person is this old and doing this much and having this many kids, you know. So I just feel like everyone should understand that motherhood is subjective. There's no right way to do it. You just do it the way you feel that you should do it. And at the end of the day, all your kids want is a happy mom. So what that means, and that's entirely up to you. So if you're happy to go to work and you don't feel guilty about it, don't let anyone make you feel guilty about it. If you're happy to be a stay-at-home mom and that fills you with joy, then don't let anyone feel guilty about it. It's really about you, your approach, what makes you happy and what makes the kids happy and what is best for the kids at the end of the day, and also what is best for you. So if those quotas are met, then everything else is just noise.
Michelle Ngina is a marketing and business development executive living in Nairobi with her partner and her 2 kids. That's it for this week's episode. Next week, I sit down with June and Shiko, authors of My Remarkable Mom, a guided journal that has been thoughtfully created to help us get to know our mothers better. Mama Tales is a labor of love. I see this platform contributing to the empowerment of the African mom. I hope that through this podcast, we can embark on motherhood feeling confident, seen, felt, and heard. I need your help in doing that. If you find this podcast valuable to you, why not share it with a friend? If you'd like to even help further, consider donating to the show. Think about it like buying me a cup of tea or a slice of Java's decadent chocolate fudge cake. Every single contribution will go a long way in helping me achieve this vision for the African mom. Details on how to do this can be found in the show notes of this episode. Catch you in the next one. Bye.